Um, so I was thinking about something more grandiose or conceptually interesting, such as misconceptions about time and identity, uh, like the way many Westerners view Iran's history as divided into pre and post coup, well-meaning ones, or regard the revolution as a kind of end of history phenomenon. But I feel like these topics might be too deep to talk about for this. It's similar to China's century of humiliation, less an outsider misconception and more a non-academic, non-scholarly simplification. So, what I was thinking of was language. I think a big misconception about Iran is purely based on my own experiences. Um, um, is people, Westerners, not knowing, or also like some Easterners in Japan, for example, not knowing that there is no such a thing as an Iranian language, um, like in our contemporary culture. Um, so they think Iran, like they usually recognize that Iranians don't all speak Arabic, but they think, oh, then they probably speak Iranian, and I think it's not necessarily unique to Iran. I remember there was this comic book. What was it? I forgot. But basically, the writer used Afghanistani as as some kind of language. Like he was like, blah blah blah. This character is talking about something, and he and this text is translated from Afghanistani language, right? So I think this isn't really unique to Iran, but I mean, I have a hard time thinking of anything that is as funny. But a lot of interactions I had, people just assume that I speak Iranian or I know Iranian, which is not a real language. So yeah, like people don't understand outside outside of the country. Westerners, in particular, those who are further distant from the region, think that the nation states have their own official languages, which is, I guess, it comes from like the fact that um, uh, like people in the Netherlands here have Dutch, which uses the same uh, term as the name of the country, or um, French people have French and they're from France. So they automatically think, so you're from Iran, you should speak Iranian, just like how people of France speak French, or people of Italy speak Italian, and blah, blah, blah. Which I think is somewhat interesting in the sense that it tells you something about nation building and nation states. Um, so if you think of Iran as this kind of crumbling empire, former empire, um, it's it's a very interesting comparatively. It's very interesting to think of it as this really pluralist, multicultural entity next to a country like France or the Netherlands. Um, and yeah, it's just I thought it was interesting. I don't know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to chapter 196 of The Last Thoughts of a Busy Mind, this one titled Iran is a Tapestry. Well, at the beginning of the episode, you listened to my friend talking about a misconception about Iran. Because this season has a theme, and that theme is misunderstanding Iran. In June, we had a little bit of a war. That being an understatement, of course, but there was a war, a 12-day war, and in that time, I read a lot of opinion pieces from people, mostly not from Iran and from Iran, and I realized a couple of things very, very, very soon. One of them was that people outside of Iran usually don't have any idea what Iran is like. I don't mean as a political entity, they probably have their own ideas and all of that, but what Iran is as a country, who we are as people. So they misunderstood a lot of things and backed the wrong people, i.e., the disgraced prince. We will get to him, hopefully. Hopefully not, actually. I don't want to talk about him. I genuinely despise him and his followers. But anyways, welcome to season 14 and the theme of misunderstanding Iran. My drink today is water, mostly because I forgot to get anything else until I hit record. It is cold water though, so there is something good there. So yeah, at the beginning you heard my friend talking about how Iranian is not the language of Iran, and that seems to baffle some people because, well, that is actually true. Iran does have an official language. It's a language used on documents and everything, and it's Persian. And now I don't like to call it Farsi, mostly because the language of Afghanistan does have a official language, and that is Farsi. The reason I differentiate between the two is because Persian is a mutilated form of Farsi to me. Like, it's been mutilated a little bit more. The same way, I'm trying to think of an example that I don't know much. Like, I guess South American Spanish isn't the same as Spain's Spanish, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's why I like to call it Persian. But yeah, the official language is Persian, but knowing that will not give you enough of an idea of what it is like to live in Iran, because Iran lacks a single ethnicity. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. You all know that famous clip of Ted Cruz not understanding how many people live in Iran, not knowing Iran's population, and not knowing our, race mix. And I guess that is very sadly normal for people, because when we are represented in media, we are either Arabic, which is completely wrong, or we're seen as an extension of the Arabic Empire, which is again completely wrong, or we are seen as Persians. Like, they usually center around people who were born and live in Tehran, and that is also a very limited view. Iranians are not Persians. Let's get that out of the way. That's a racist idea that was brought to our shores by the disgraced prince's grandfather because he saw what Ataturk was doing in Turkey. So yeah, he liked what he was doing there, and he thought, oh, I can do that in Iran. And in the resulting years, fucked up Iran's national and ethnic identity. Iranians are not Persians. Persians are a group in Iran, mostly consisting of people from the province of Fars and around that. Because Iran is vast. It's much bigger than you think, by the way. It's bigger than most US states. It's big, it's populous, and it has a lot of different ethnicities. For example, in the south, we have Lurs and we have Arabs. In the north, we have Gilaki, we have Mazanid. Though they live next to each other, they have completely different languages and completely different cultures. And if you go to the northeast, we have Turkmen, which are people from Turkmenistan. We also have a lot of them in the northeast. And we have Khorasani, or people who have the same ancestral link as Afghans. Then you go to the northwest and you have Azeri and Turks. And even then, they are not usually the same. Like our Turks are not the same as Turkey's Turks. We are Azeri. They don't understand each other's language. They do have similarities, very similar, but they are different. And then you get to the middle, and not middle, to the west, and you have Kurds. And then you go to the east, and you have Baluch and Sistani, again, two very different people. And then you get to the middle, where I am from, which you have Esfahani and things like that. And we are very much Lurs. Like the Esfahani accent is a mutilation or a simplification of the Lori language. So yeah, this is the ethnic mix of Iran. And again, I am doing it very simplified. Like there are minority groups, minority ethnicities in Iran that I didn't even mention. So with all of that, you have to understand that each ethnicity in Iran, which are usually gathered in their own areas, don't like to talk with other languages. Let me explain. It is a joke that people in Northwest, sorry, my beard is very long. It got into my mouth. Again, sorry. The people in Northwest do not like the Persian language. If you go there and talk in Persian, they will ignore you. You have to talk in Turkish. And again, it's a stereotype. It's usually used for jokes and archetypal arguments, and it's not without merit, but it's not completely true either. But it gives you an idea of what it's like to talk in Iran. So each ethnic group have their own language, and they do like their own language, and they do like their own culture. Iran has always been multicultural. There are similarities, there are unifying forces. All of the cultures have a reverence for Nowruz and for that, but there is no like dominant culture between ethnicities in Iran. They're all different, and they all have their own little touches on their culture. So Iran is never a one ethnicity and one language country. It's never been that throughout history, and it's not that right now. There have been attempts, as I said, Reza Shah tried to call it the land of Iran. Iran is the land of Persians, and tried to force Persian as the official language, with disastrous results, which made racial divides possible in a country that was built on being multi-ethnic and multicultural, and sometimes multilingual, not all the time. But it's always been that in the Qajar dynasty, Arabic and Persian were very interchangeable. They just used words interchangeably. It was still talking in Persian, but with a lot of Arabic flavor. And this is part of the reason I think a lot of people misunderstand Iran. Because it's kind of hard to look at Iran, a country in the Middle East. Middle East is prominently Arabic speaking. Like a lot of countries around Iran speak Arabic. And they are a major political force as well. So it's kind of easy to look at Iran, this little country in the middle, and say, well, they are either an extension of the Arabs, or if they're not, which is what we claim, so they might have their own Iranian language, which is again false. We do speak Persian, but each ethnicity have their own language. Most of them have their own accents as well, even if they don't have their language. I am from Isfahan, and Isfahan doesn't have its own official language. It has an accent. The accent, as I said, is a simplification of the Lori language. We have a lot of back and forth with them because Isfahan used to be one of the lower, what do you call it? I'm going to say it in Persian and then think of the English translation. It's a very lower Khiz province. There were a lot of laws in Isfahan. Still they are, but they used to travel a lot in this area as well. There is a claim, I don't know how ancestrally true it is, but my family is in fact ancestrally either Law or Arab, because there were 5 tribes who used to run together, and 3 of them were Laws, 2 of them were Arabs, so we might be from that. They have the same surname as us. They have the same nickname as our surname. Anyways, not important. But the thing is that they each have their own accent, and brushing them all with the same brush, coloring them all with the same brush, misses a lot of nuance. And nuance is the enemy of misunderstanding, of simplification. I hope you understand what I mean. When you strip nuance, it's easy to look at Iran and say, well, their people did this, so we have to bomb them. That's very easy to do when you don't understand that those people have their own culture, have their own language, and they have their own differences, and they are in a melting pot of themselves. This actually was part of the reason I wanted to talk about that. A lot of people inside of Iran doesn't understand the importance of this multiculturalism and this multi-ethnicity identity. Because, as I said, Reza Shah fucked up. In a lot of things. This wasn't his biggest fuck up. This was his most lasting fuck up, in my opinion. His son fucked up a lot of things as well. But because Reza Shah did actually manage to fuck up, there have been a lot of multi-ethnic cries, People are saying, no, Iran is the land of Persians, and if you either don't speak Persian, you are either uncultured or, you don't belong with the civilized people. And that is not only wrong, it's stupid. Iran has always been multicultural and multi-ethnic, and it is part of the reason it has managed to survive. It gives and takes with other cultures. And if it doesn't do that, if it doesn't have that, it's doomed. And this is the part a lot of Iranians inside of Iran don't understand either. The reason people outside of Iran doesn't understand that Iran is multicultural and multi-ethnic is because, well, for various reasons, it's not been advertised. It's not been shown as a thing that happens because, well, if you do that, a lot of people will probably feel different about Iran. And we can't have that because they have to see Iran as a certain way. I'm not going to get conspiracy theory on you, but you know what I mean. The other problem is that inside of Iran, people don't see it as multi-ethnic and multicultural because that complicates things. Because then you have to understand that there are people in Iran who may not want the same thing you want because it's culturally inaccessible to them. Not inaccessible, it's culturally different for them. And it's much easier to not have a dialogue with them and just, push them aside as not one of us. They're not like us. Unrelated reference. But yeah, that is the first episode of Misunderstanding Iran. I hope you at least have a better understanding of why Iran is not a monolith in culture, in language, or in ethnicity. And it's important. It is important. Hopefully we can explore that through the season. Before I go, I had a special chapter during the hiatus. There is a link to it in the description. And I appeared in a podcast which got released. And there is a link for that in the description as well. I hope to see you all in the next episode. I don't know what it's going to be.